The Galactic High Command convened in the Grand Hall, a space vast enough to house the greatest minds of the universe. The most powerful species from countless stars had come together to discuss the rise of an insignificant planet at the farthest reaches of the known universe. Earth was their subject of mockery for years, a tiny blue world surrounded by nothing but endless void, a world whose people barely had the technology to break the bonds of their own atmosphere, let alone challenge the supremacy of the Galactic Council. Its rulers laughed at the mere thought that humans could ever pose a threat to them. The council consisted of species older than humanity could ever fathom. Some had mastered the stars centuries ago, others wielded weapons that could turn entire planets into dust. But Earth was different. It was a planet of insignificant creatures with a barely visible footprint in galactic history, yet here they were discussing them as if they mattered. A leader of the Krill Empire, a race known for its cruel efficiency in warfare, slammed a massive fist onto the table. His voice thundered across the room, a deep growl as he said, "We waste too much time with these humans. They are nothing but ants, and ants have no place in a galaxy ruled by those who can bend the stars to their will." The others agreed. Nods of approval echoed from the scattered seats of the council. The galaxy had seen far too many primitive races rise and fall, and Earth was simply another in the endless cycle of fleeting civilizations that would never reach the stars, much less threaten the powers that ruled over them. What the Krill leader did not know was that the humans of Earth had been quietly preparing for something the Council never thought possible. In secret labs buried beneath mountains and deep under oceans, humanity had been hard at work developing technology that could match the most advanced civilizations. Their greatest minds had come together to create something that could stand against the overwhelming might of the galactic order. They had something to show the galaxy, but no one knew about it, yet no one except for the select few humans who had uncovered a secret so ancient it could change the fate of the stars. A message had come to Earth from a far-off corner of the galaxy. No one knew its source or why it was sent, but within that message lay blueprints, designs for a warship like no other, a ship capable of withstanding the might of fleets and launching attacks that could obliterate entire squadrons at will in a distant ocean. Under the cover of secrecy, massive shipyards had begun construction on the Warship, a Titan-class vessel. Unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, it was not a weapon of destruction, but a symbol of what humanity was capable of: their will to survive and their ability to adapt and overcome impossible odds. While the galaxy scoffed and mocked their progress, the humans worked tirelessly, knowing the day would come when they would have to prove themselves, a day when the laughter would stop and the galaxy would see the power hidden beneath the surface of this tiny blue planet. The signal was faint at first, barely more than a whisper drifting through the vast emptiness of space. It came from the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a place that even the most advanced species had long since abandoned, forgotten by all but the most desperate explorers. It was a relic of a time long past, when another race had once stood on the precipice of greatness. And now it was just a whisper carried on cosmic winds until it found its way to Earth. At first the signal was dismissed as an anomaly, a glitch in the system, or a cosmic flare from a distant star. But something about it intrigued Admiral Sarah Whitlock of the Earth Defense Force. She had seen signals from deep space before, but none like this. It was old, far too old to be from any current technology, yet there was something familiar about it, like a distant memory tugging at the back of her mind. For weeks, she studied it, piecing together the fragments of the message that had been sent for reasons unknown to anyone. The signal had been designed to reach Earth, to find humanity, but why, it was a mystery. The message itself was fragmented, a series of coordinates hidden within layers of code and signals from a long-dead civilization. But there was something more, something buried deep in the transmission, something that set it apart from anything else Sarah had ever encountered. It contained designs for a ship, a warship of unimaginable scale and power. It was as if the ship itself was a gift to humanity, a blueprint for something that could change the entire course of history. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The designs were complex, intricate beyond comprehension, yet there was a simplicity to it, a beauty that only an advanced race would be capable of creating. It was clear that this ship was no ordinary vessel. It was a weapon, a fortress, and a symbol all in one, and it was meant for Earth. Sarah's heart raced as she realized what she was looking at. This was no accident. Someone had deliberately sent this blueprint across the stars, and it was meant to be built on Earth. She didn't know why or who had sent it, but the implications were undeniable. Humanity had been given something that could change everything, a weapon of unimaginable power, with the potential to challenge the greatest forces in the galaxy, but it would take time and resources far beyond what Earth had at its disposal. It wasn't just about building a ship, it was about surviving. It was about preparing for the inevitable day when humanity would be called upon to stand against the galaxy's might. Sarah had no choice but to act. She couldn't bring the news to the world just yet, not without fully understanding what they were up against. She couldn't risk alerting the Galactic High Command to what they were building on Earth, not when they were still too vulnerable to defend themselves. The warship had to be built in secret, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy. She contacted her most trusted officers and scientists, and within days the first covert operations were underway. The construction of the Titan-class warship began in secret beneath the world's oceans and deep in remote locations. No one could find. The project was immense, and the resources required were nearly impossible, but they had no choice. The signal was clear. This was humanity's destiny. A new chapter had begun, and it had to be written in silence, under the watchful eyes of the stars, until the time came to reveal their true power. The first pieces of the Titan-class warship began to take shape in the hidden shipyards, scattered across Earth as construction crews worked around the clock in complete secrecy. The scale of the project was staggering. Entire cities were put to work creating the raw materials needed to build a ship of such magnitude. But the challenge wasn't just in the size, it was in the complexity. The blueprints Sarah had uncovered were beyond anything humanity had ever seen. The technology was so advanced it took everything they knew about engineering and threw it out the window. The materials required to build the ship were rare and valuable, only found in the deepest recesses of the Earth's crust. And even then they had to be processed in ways never before imagined. It was a race against time, but one that had no clear finish line. As the warship slowly took form, Sarah couldn't shake the weight of the responsibility that rested on her shoulders. She knew what was at stake. This wasn't just about building a weapon, it was about survival. The galaxy had no place for humanity, and every day that passed brought them closer to the moment when the Galactic High Command would come to investigate the growing whispers about Earth. They couldn't afford to be discovered, not yet, not when the ship was still unfinished. Every moment was a calculated risk. But Sarah had no choice. She trusted the project, the engineers and scientists working tirelessly around the globe who believed in it as much as she did. That trust was her anchor. As the first sections of the Titan class began to take shape, a small crew of elite soldiers was assembled to guard the project from both external and internal threats. The warship was designed to be far more than just a weapon. It was a fortress, a home to those who would fight to protect Earth's future. The crew was chosen not for their experience, but for their sheer determination. They were the best humanity had to offer, but they were also untested unknowns in a world where the stakes were higher than anyone could fathom. Yet they were driven by a singular belief. They were fighting not just for their own survival, but for the survival of every human on Earth. Sarah had one secret ally in the construction of the ship, an underground network of engineers and tech experts who had long ago developed a reputation for their ability to turn impossible ideas into reality. These engineers had been quietly working alongside the military experts, designing a ship that could withstand any attack from the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. The technology they were incorporating was experimental, but if it worked, it would be a game changer. The ship's hull was being reinforced with alloys that were resistant to heat and pressure far beyond what was known to the galaxy's most advanced species. Its weapons systems were unlike anything that had ever been conceived of. Humanity was about to build a ship that could rival the greatest fleets of the universe. But there was still much to be done. Each day brought new challenges, new setbacks, and new discoveries. But the project was moving forward slowly yet surely. The warship was becoming more than just an idea. It was becoming a reality that would change the course of history. But the deeper Sarah delved into the project, the more she realized that time was running out. The signal that had called humanity to action was a distant whisper in the darkness. But soon it would become the roar of a storm as the galaxy began to notice the tiny blue world on the outskirts of the universe. and when that storm came, humanity would have to be ready to face it head-on. The first signs of trouble came not from the distant reaches of space, but from within the Galactic Council itself. Whispers began to spread across the galaxy that Earth was no longer the insignificant backwater it had once been. Its rapid advancements were no longer as secret rumors of strange transmissions, and unexplainable activity coming from the far edge of the solar system started to catch the attention of the Galactic High Command. At first, they dismissed it as human exaggeration, an anomaly in the galactic records. But as the reports became more frequent and detailed, it became impossible to ignore. The humans were building something, and it wasn't just any ship. The construction of the Titan-class warship was detected. It was massive, the kind of vessel that could challenge entire fleets at once. An undetected military buildup from a species long thought incapable of such engineering sent ripples through the galactic powers. The Council quickly convened to discuss the threat Earth now posed. The leader of the Zorath Dominion, the most powerful and ancient empire in the galaxy, was the first to speak. He scowled as the holographic map of Earth's solar system flickered in front of him. "What do these primitive creatures think they are doing?" he growled. "This is not just a ship, it is a challenge to everything we have built." The council members were silent as the reality of the situation sank in. A planet previously dismissed as irrelevant had now become the greatest unknown in the galaxy. The Krill Empire and the Ruxer Federation demanded immediate action, while others like the Tilani Collective advocated for caution. But the Council was unanimous in one decision: they would send a fleet to Earth, a fleet capable of quashing any potential threat before it could grow beyond control. Their mission was clear: neutralize the humans and destroy whatever they had built at any cost. They had underestimated Earth before, but this time they would ensure that no mistake was made. They would show the humans their place in the galactic hierarchy, with a fleet of elite warships and a determination to crush the upstarts beneath their boots. The news sent shockwaves across Earth. The first signs of the fleet's approach were detected by Earth's defense systems mere hours after the Council's decision to act on it. The fleet was massive, its size and firepower overwhelming. But Sarah Whitlock had expected this. She had anticipated that the galactic powers would not simply sit idly by and let humanity rise to prominence. The time had come. The Titan-class warship was ready for battle. Her crew was in place, and Sarah's heart pounded as she gave the order to prepare for combat. The humans were not going to back down. They would show the galaxy that Earth was no longer a helpless planet to be trampled on. They would defend their home and their right to exist among the stars. The fleet's approach was swift, but not unexpected. Earth's defenses were primed and ready. Every ship, every soldier, and every piece of technology had been put in place to ensure their survival. As the massive galactic fleet entered Earth's orbit, they were met not with the silence of a weak planet, but with the roar of humanity's wrath. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Titan as its enormous engines powered to life. The ship's weapon systems hummed as they began to charge. She felt the weight of the moments settle over her. Earth was no longer a planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. It was now a force to be reckoned with. And as the first shot from the Titan-class warship pierced the darkness of space, Sarah knew the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. The sky above Earth shattered as the Titan-class warship rose into space, its immense silhouette dwarfing anything that had come before it. The ship's hull gleamed under the light of the distant sun, a behemoth that seemed to defy the very laws of physics and reality. As it surged into the vast expanse of space, the human fleet followed in its wake, a testament to Earth's newfound strength. But it was the Titan that commanded attention from the moment it emerged. The galactic fleet had never seen anything like it. They had expected a fight, but nothing like this. The first volley from the Titan-class warship tore through the ranks of the approaching fleet with a force that shook the very fabric of space. Its weapons were unlike any seen before in the galaxy, blasts of energy powerful enough to rupture the hulls of the most advanced ships, sending them spiraling into the void. The galactic fleet commander, Admiral Varrock of the Ruxer Federation, watched in stunned silence as his flagship disintegrated in a single strike. The Titan's firepower was far beyond anything he had ever imagined. It wasn't just advanced, it was a masterpiece of warfare, designed to rip through the defenses of any ship in existence. Varrock recovered from his shock, but only momentarily. The fleet was disintegrating around him, and he had no idea how to stop it. The humans were using tactics that no one could have predicted. Their movements were erratic, unpredictable. The ships of Earth's fleet did not follow the expected patterns of galactic warfare. They attacked like a swarm of angry bees, refusing to allow their enemies to regroup or retaliate. They were relentless. The once imposing fleet of the Galactic Council was crumbling under the weight of human ingenuity and determination. Varroc's hands trembled as he realized the full extent of their power. Earth had not just built a weapon, it had built an entire war machine capable of tearing through any force the galaxy could muster. The chaos in the Galactic fleet was palpable. Ships were fleeing, attempting to regroup, but the humans were everywhere, cutting them off one by one. Their escape routes were blocked as the Titan-class warship moved across the battlefield like a force of nature. The sheer size and firepower of the vessel gave the humans an overwhelming advantage. The Galactic fleet had no way of coordinating their attacks. It was as if the humans had anticipated every move they made. Every counterstrike was met with precision, and the overwhelming might of Earth's warships, the bridge of the Titan class, was alive with activity. As Sarah Whitlock gave orders, her crew moved with purpose, no hesitation, no fear. They had fought for this moment, and now they would ensure Earth's survival and dominance. The ship's sensors scanned the field, picking up targets with surgical precision. Each shot fired from the Titan was devastating, its power unyielding, as it cut through the galactic forces like a scythe through wheat. As the hours passed, the Galactic fleet grew smaller and smaller, their ships in flames or drifting aimlessly through space in a desperate attempt to escape. But there would be no escape. The humans had shown the galaxy the cost of underestimating them. The message was clear: Earth was no longer a backwater planet, it was now a superpower, and the galaxy would have to come to terms with that reality. Sarah watched as the last of the enemy fleet made its final retreat. There would be no victory for the invaders, no triumph to speak of, only a retreat into the unknown depths of space. A retreat that would be remembered as the day Earth proved its strength to the universe. As the Titan-class warship moved slowly back toward Earth's orbit, Sarah allowed herself a brief moment to breathe. But there was no time for celebration. The real battle was only just beginning. The Galactic High Command would not take this defeat lightly, and soon they would return with even greater force. But humanity would be ready. They had only just begun to show the galaxy what they were capable of. The victory over the Galactic fleet was not without consequence. Though the humans had crushed the invaders, it was clear that the rest of the galaxy would not allow Earth's rise to go unchallenged. In the quiet aftermath of the battle, Sarah Whitlock stood on the bridge of the Titan-class warship, looking out into the vastness of space. Her hands gripped the edge of the command console as she processed the events that had just unfolded. Earth had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The Galactic Council would retaliate. They would not allow a small planet to disrupt the balance of power they had maintained for millennia. Word of Earth's victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy, and the reaction was immediate: fear, anger, disbelief. Earth had not only survived the attack, it had destroyed the fleet of the most powerful empires in the universe. And it had done so with a technology the galaxy had never seen before. The news sent shockwaves through the galactic powers. The Krill Empire called for the immediate destruction of Earth, vowing to wipe the humans from the galaxy. The Zorath Dominion prepared its own fleet to crush the rebellion, while the Tilani Collective began to consider more subtle methods of dealing with the upstart planet. Sarah knew the attack was coming. She knew the galaxy would not leave Earth alone now that they had shown what they could do. The preparations began again. The shipyards worked in silence as the Titan-class warship was reinforced, its weapons upgraded, and its crew trained for an even greater battle than the last one. Earth's leaders held their breath, waiting for the next move of the Galactic High Command. The countdown had begun. It would be only a matter of time before the galaxy came for them again. And when they did, they would bring everything they had. Earth's defenses had held against one fleet. But what about 2 or 3 or more? Would they stand a chance against an all-out assault from the galaxy's greatest powers? Sarah did not doubt the capabilities of her ship or the determination of her crew. But even she knew that victory could not be guaranteed again. No one had ever faced such an overwhelming force. Before it was in this uncertain time that a strange calm came over Sarah as she prepared for the next round of combat. She knew that the most important factor in humanity's survival was not just their weapons or their technology. It was their resolve. Earth's will to survive, to push forward against all odds, had been their greatest asset from the very beginning. And that was something no one in the galaxy could predict or understand. The other empires had long since forgotten what it was like to fight for survival. They had grown complacent, relying on their power and prestige to shield them from real threats. But humanity had never known that luxury. The human race had clawed its way up from the dirt, and it had done so by overcoming insurmountable odds time and time again. Now it was their greatest strength, their unpredictability, their fearlessness, and that would be their advantage. When the next wave of enemy ships arrived, Earth would be ready. They would strike first, and they would not hold back. Humanity had awakened a force within itself, a force that would never be silenced again. It was no longer a question of if the humans could survive. It was a question of how the galaxy would survive when Earth came for them. The storm the galaxy had feared arrived faster than anyone anticipated. Earth's fleet was ready, though Sarah Whitlock watched from the command deck of the Titan-class warship. As the horizon of space darkened with the approach of the enemy fleets, she could see them on the monitor's massive ships, the likes of which Earth had never seen before, swarming towards the planet, their sheer size and power a reminder of the galaxy's most advanced empires. The Krill Empire had sent its flagship, a colossal vessel that could easily dwarf the Titan-class warship, but Sarah knew that this time they were not facing a group of scattered fleets. They were facing the full force of the Galactic Council. Every weapon, every warship, every ounce of power that had once dismissed Earth as insignificant was now focused on destroying them. The final battle for humanity's survival had begun. The human fleet moved into position, its ranks solid and coordinated. They were no longer the disorganized collection of ships they had once been. They were a cohesive fighting force. Each ship was outfitted with the best technology Earth could produce, and each crew member was prepared to give everything to defend their world. Sarah knew that this would not be a battle of firepower alone. It would be a battle of strategy. And while the galactic fleets had numbers and firepower, but Earth had the one advantage they could rely on that no other empire could predict: their unpredictable nature, their ability to adapt, to think on their feet, and most importantly, their unity. The first shots rang out as the two fleets collided. The hum of energy weapons filled the air as the first wave of enemy ships opened fire. The Titan-class warship absorbed the blasts with ease, its reinforced hull shrugging off the impacts, but Sarah's eyes were fixed on the tactics of the enemy fleet. They were relentless. They had learned from their previous defeat. They were not attacking blindly. They were focusing on the human ships that were weaker, picking them off one by one in an attempt to weaken their numbers. But Sarah had already anticipated this tactic. She gave the order, and the human fleet split into smaller groups, each group acting independently, using hit-and-run tactics designed to confuse and overwhelm the enemy. The Krill flagship fired its main weapon, sending a massive energy beam toward the Titan-class warship. The blast collided with the ship's shields, shaking it to its core. But the shields held steady. Sarah didn't flinch. Instead, she barked orders to her crew, and the Titan began its counterattack. The ship's massive cannons unleashed a devastating barrage of energy bolts that tore through the Krill flagship's shields with a deafening roar. The flagship's hull cracked open under the onslaught, and within moments it was nothing more than a derelict hulk drifting through space. The victory was short-lived as another wave of enemy ships arrived, led by the flagship of the Zorith Dominion. These ships were faster, more maneuverable than the Krill ships, and they immediately began to flank the human fleet, firing in quick succession. Sarah knew they needed to adapt quickly or risk being overwhelmed. The Titan-class warship surged forward, cutting through the enemy lines with devastating efficiency, its weapon systems working in perfect harmony with the human fleet's movements. The battle raged for hours, neither side willing to give an inch. Sarah could feel the pressure mounting as more enemy ships appeared on the horizon, but she remained calm, her eyes never leaving the battle as the human fleet fought tooth and nail against the onslaught. But Earth's will to survive burned brighter than ever, and with each passing moment, the galactic fleets began to realize something they had underestimated. They had thought humanity would buckle under the pressure, But instead Earth was fighting back harder than ever before, showing the galaxy the true meaning of resilience and strength. The final wave of the galactic fleets arrived just as Sarah Whitlock and her crew believed they had the upper hand. The enemy ships were relentless, their numbers overwhelming, yet the human fleet held firm, and the Titan-class warship continued to carve through the opposition with unmatched precision. Sarah stood at the helm of the warship, her face a mask of focus. As she coordinated the battle, she could feel the heat of the conflict in every decision, every move they made. The pressure was immense, the odds were impossible. But she had learned long ago that humanity thrived under impossible circumstances. The human fleet had become a formidable force, its ships fighting with the fierce determination that had always defined them. The battle had become a test of endurance, both sides refusing to give in. But the galactic fleets had underestimated Earth's capacity for unity and innovation. Their enemies had expected Earth to break under pressure, but instead the humans adapted, using every weapon at their disposal to turn the tide. They struck in waves, not in brute force, but in intelligence and precision. Every move calculated to outmaneuver the enemy ships. One by one, the once unassailable fleets of the Krill, the Zorath Dominion, and the Ruxor Federation began to falter. Their ranks grew thinner with each passing minute. Their formations became disorganized. As Earth's forces picked them apart methodically, the Titan-class warship stood as a beacon of humanity's strength, its weapons never faltering, its engines never slowing. Sarah knew they were getting closer to victory. But there was still so much more to do. She had no illusions about the cost of the battle. The price of victory had been steep, and she could feel the weight of the war in her bones. Earth's fleet had suffered losses, and the Titan class had taken its fair share of hits, but it was still standing, still fighting, still pushing forward with every ounce of strength. The humans had left. Then came the decisive moment. The Zorath flagship, the largest and most powerful of the enemy ships, stood directly in front of the Titan-class warship, its weapons fully charged, ready to destroy Earth's last hope. In one final strike, Sarah's heart raced as she realized what was happening. They were going to make a last stand. It was now or never. The two ships locked in a deadly dance, exchanging volley after volley of weapons. Fire! The Titan's shields flared as they absorbed the strikes from the Zorath flagship. But Sarah knew they couldn't keep taking hits like this. The flagship was strong, but its defenses were not invulnerable. She made the decision to strike. She gave the order for the Titan to engage its full power. The ship's massive engines roared to life as the Titan-class warship surged forward, its guns charged with energy, and unleashed a devastating blast that tore through the Zorath flagship's shields. In one swift strike, the flagship's core exploded, sending a shockwave through the battlefield, and the Zorath fleet fell apart in the wake of the destruction. With their leader defeated, the rest of the galactic fleets began to scatter, unable to maintain their resolve. The humans had done it. Earth had won the battle, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. As Sarah stood in the control room, watching the remnants of the galactic fleet retreating into the void, she allowed herself a moment of triumph. But she knew this was just the beginning. The war for humanity's place in the galaxy was far from over. They had proven themselves, but the real challenge was ahead now. Earth was a force to be reckoned with, but that meant the eyes of the galaxy would always be on them from this day forward. They would be prepared, though ready for anything that came next, because Earth had shown the universe one simple truth: that humanity was no longer a species to be ignored or wiped out, but a force of nature that would never back down.